All right. Hello, everybody. I guess.
And we don't have any. I see. I see zero people have joined in yet, so I think there might be. We can wait for Hubert to troubleshoot.
Yes. Let's see.
Mm, how's your Sunday going though? Aside from that,
Pretty good. Woke up relatively early to watch UFC. Pretty good fight. And then not much more. What about you?
love that. Also, GM fam from Lumina, GM. Um,
GM.
You know, I slept really, really late because we were watching one of the things my family loves to do now that I'm home is watch like my wedding videos and from like
Aw, that's cute.
a bunch of the different events. So anytime a new family members visits us, that's our go-to now. And
Ah, nice.
yeah.
That's so
So
cute.
so we stayed up till like extremely late. I think we slept at like
Oh,
3:50. I don't
wow.
know.
Damn,
Um,
that's late.
Yeah, because we had, like, a dinner party, and then family just stayed back, and then we're just like, "What do we do? Let's watch, the wedding videos."
Ah, nice.
And it's in good timing because my sister just got married, but we don't have her videos yet, so we're like, "Oh, let's just watch mine." But it was fun. It's been good. I have a pretty packed weekend, with friends and stuff, but, I
Nice.
think, yeah, it's good to be here. And I was just kind of thinking about like going back and all that stuff. I have to sort out some visa stuff for our offsite. But
All right.
yeah, today's an interesting one. And for everyone who's watching right now, if we get a if we get a ton of viewers and we get a lot more like I mean, we usually do pretty well when it comes to our later timings. But if you one have any thoughts y'all want to share, we are absolutely going to be able to get to them. But second, if this timing works better, we're down to experiment with earlier time live streams. Like um, we're very data driven in what we do a lot of times, and so sometimes a lot of it is about trade offs, about timings, and we do try to cater to more time zones. But we've tested out a few different timings, and we will continue to until we figure out what works best for us. So if you are watching right now and you would like us to do earlier ones, keep watching and please do engage and reply and tell us that it makes a difference because we're absolutely going to try and cater to that. Um, GM Sarah.
GM.
Yeah, GM. What's your usual morning drink of choice?
Mine?
Hmm.
I actually don't drink coffee. Now I'm drinking coffee. Um, so just a smoothie or water, really.
Interesting.
You?
And you're into so I used to be a big I still am like a big coffee person. Um, but I transitioned into matcha and I
Mm.
started making it at home the last couple I'd say over the last month or so. Um, and now that I'm home, chai is like my go-to to start the day because like my family drinks chai like 4 times a day, five
Oh,
times a day.
nice.
Yeah, well, like we had chai last night at like midnight. Everyone's like,
Oof.
"Oh, what should we have? Let's have chai." It's not even a function of caffeine at this point. It's a function of like, if you're bored, let's just have chai. Oh, Nico is
Nice.
better than us, Sarah. I agree.
Nice. Yeah, I love a good chai, but
We
probably nothing. I've never probably tried as good as it's there.
we just make it at home. Well, there's two ways. My parents make it with tea bags, which is a little bit different in the way that we make it.
Mm.
At
Hello, hello.
like, hi, Hubert, how are you?
I had a little
Hello.
problems to be honest to joining because I don't know why to be honest. But yeah,
That's
now I
okay.
had to restart like 3 or 4 times, but now it worked actually. So
Yeah, you're here, and
cool.
that's what matters. We were just discussing morning drinks and what we prefer. I was telling him about my my family's obsession with chai, or just
Yeah,
it's
so
called chai.
I'm like right now I have a matcha arc, to be honest. I don't know about you.
Nice.
That
I'm a
seems to be
matcha.
the thing nowadays, huh?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love matcha too. Although I started drinking it years ago, but it was like the way that I drink it at home is not with milk, it's just with hot water. I guess it makes it a tea version. I don't know. Um,
Yeah,
but it
like
does one.
coffee for me is like coffee is making me like not very productive during the day. So, and matcha is like more steady, in like
Yeah,
the
yeah. I've noticed that, and I feel like matcha also just really helps with caffeine and cramps generally. Like if you're not feeling okay and you have coffee, you're just gonna feel worse, and at least I feel worse a lot of times. But if I have matcha, I somehow feel like I don't know if it's like a mental thing, but I just feel like my body feels better. So I have to believe that it has something to do with with matcha in itself versus like, you know, yeah. All right, sweet. Well, I guess we can start with intros, and then we'll give a little bit of an intro, and then Hubert, you can take over and take the lead here. I'm Michelle. You've probably seen me around if you've been around at Octant. I do all things marketing, and this live stream is part of actually the interesting thing is we had been chatting about this session for months before the allocation window because one of the things we've noticed is that like there's been a lot of appetite for wanting to learn more about layer twos, L2s, and wanting to understand all of the different aspects. And that was the main reason why we were chatting with our friends over at L2beat, because of course, who better than the folks who are quite literally helping make everything accessible in terms of L2s in the space that is so competitive. And um, I think this is so timely as well. We've seen the highs of announcements around a new L2 being announced every week. I think we're a little bit past that. Now it's a little bit more about understanding what are these L2s doing? What do these terms matter? A lot of times it can be really scary to navigate and understand. And I think a lot of people don't want to admit how well they understand the space. And we definitely felt that when we had conversations one-on-one. People would never admit it publicly, but in private, they're like, yeah, you know what? It'd be cool to learn a lot of these things. And so one of our goals here with our community has been to make things accessible. And so with that, we think this is perfectly timed. L2beat is one of our Epoch darlings, as we call them, always in the top 5, I would say. The community does love L2beat, and I think this Epoch is perfectly themed for this session because it was right in time for the allocation window, which, reminder, if you have been and have not allocated, please do. If you have an ENS and you weren't able to allocate, try again. There was a slight bug that we fixed, and you should be able to. There have been some user cases where they thought they allocated, but they weren't able to. So please just double check on the app. It's going to take a couple minutes, but it makes such a big difference to every single project that you're allocating to, and even from your personal rewards perspective, because if you don't allocate and take a decision, your rewards are wasted. So yeah, that's a little bit about the session. Nico, if you want to introduce yourself, then we'll take it over to Hubert, who is who's going to be our L2beat maestro here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Nico. I'm doing community at Octant, and yeah, just excited to follow this L2beat workshop. I mean, I've used L2beat before, but I feel that there's so much to dig into that I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to it. So
And,
over to
and,
you,
and
Hubert.
yeah, unfortunately, the website is not as easy sometimes as one would like it to be. So yeah, but so thank you very much, guys, for having me here today. I'm Hubert, and I would say I'm from L2beat almost from its inception. I was one of the very early hires, and yeah, right now I try to make sure that this public good actually can like live through like all the possible bear markets, bull markets, and so on. Right now it's very easy for everybody, I would say, because everything is going up, but it's not always like that. So due to that, you need to build some kind of a war chest as a public good. So like the fact that there is something like Octant is like incredible to me, because when I was like 3-4 years ago, right, when I was starting, the only thing that we could focus on was Gitcoin at this time. And like the problem with Gitcoin was that there was like no like there was like no so many like possibilities to actually showcase your project there, right? There were a lot of rounds, but they were like scattered around. Everybody was just doing their thing, kinda. That at least how I felt. And now with Octant, we actually have like some kind of a tool to like show what we are doing, like and making sure like everybody understands it and actually donate and get these sweet sweeps if so thank you guys very much. That's with what I wanted to start actually. But yeah, like L2beat is a website where we track all the L2s from the Ethereum ecosystem. That's very important because we focus only on Ethereum. There are like a lot of L1s that also try L2 approach, but unfortunately we focus on only one L1 since we believe it's actually the most decentralized and most important layer that will probably become the world computer in the future. Yeah, and like maybe like a quick context how we actually came to be. Like 3 4 years ago, again, right? There was like this huge L2 boom, so everybody started like building their own L2s. There was no one official L2 by Ethereum team, right? By Ethereum Foundation. So everybody was kind of doing their own things with their own stacks. But like if you were like a normal users, right? Like there was like no possibility for you to actually check which one was better, right? Because you could probably follow some stuff like DeFi Llama or whatever, right, to see how many assets are stored in like specific DeFi smart contracts or whatever. But like from like security standpoint, there was like nowhere to go, to be honest. So the idea for L2beat was always not only presenting the data, right, to kind of compare those L2s on this front, but also the security and decentralization standpoint, right? Because to be honest, like L2 is one of the most complicated setups on blockchain till now. So like actually like understanding how it exactly works with proofs, with bridges and so on is very, very complicated. So we had to basically come out with like special frameworks for these things for L2s, like risk rosette or stages. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to discuss today, is to make sure that even though it's a very complicated matter, if you will just spend like couple minutes on it, you will actually understand a bit more. So that's my goal today. I hope I will be able to achieve it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Hubert. And yeah, as mentioned earlier, super excited to learn about all that as well. So um, if you want, you can try to share your screen, and I think we can
Okay.
uh, kick it off with a
One
workshop.
small question: are we recording? Because I would love to have it
We are.
for other
Yeah,
participants of my community. Great, 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 great.
absolutely. Yeah. We're going to send you the recording after.
Maybe we'll create some TikToks out of it.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, some short forms. Yeah, absolutely. I know Sarah's watching, and she's probably gonna have some really cool ideas. She's our video genius at Octant.
Do we need to dance or something?
Yes, we'll figure it out. There was actually like this safe Ethereum dance like 2 3 months ago,
Yes,
right? When the
Dave
heat was
Ethereum
super down
dance.
and it actually worked. So Okay, so
Yeah,
can you see my screen and you actually see like everything moving in a like a normal pace?
I actually can't see your screen.
Okay, wait a second. Give me a second. Share screen.
If we do the Save Ethereum dance after this, I'll hit up Kayla and Ozzy Matt, and I'm sure they'll be proud.
Here it shows me that it shows my screen, but then it says the browser can access your screen. Try capturing a different screen to see if it continues. Okay, give me a second. Never used the StreamYard yet, so nothing is set up, unfortunately. Mm, mm,
Yeah, we've had some
Mm,
participants who had to change the browser they were using, so
okay,
maybe that works.
okay. Yeah, I'm using Arc, and it's a bit experimental, I would say. So maybe
Yeah,
that's why. Okay, let me check very quickly with Safari then. Give me a second, guys.
no worries.
Yeah, totally. Take your time.
We
But
can
yeah,
talk
sneak up.
about how Ethereum actually pumped after the Save Ethereum dance.
100%. It's a save Ethereum dance. That is what has saved Ethereum. So I am grateful to Scroll Tax for that.
Yeah.
Sarah, you can use this for your soundbite. I'm sure any Save Ethereum dance mentions lead to the prize pumping. So every bit of contribution counts.
We should save it more though.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think we need to go
Keep
full
saving
on.
it. Yeah. Full
We need
send.
to go full dance mode, like dance royale, to save Ethereum.
Yeah. Would be really fun if they organized a sort of flash mob or something at Dev Connect or so, like where
Can
like
you imagine? Can you
a lot
imagine
of
though?
people
Like
just go for it.
just
That would be
just
really, really dope.
it'll be we're gonna go viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Would be hilarious though.
Yeah. Oh, maybe Chrysanthemum can plug in here and figure
Yeah.
out. Stop building. Stop trying to prep for a flash mob during Death Connect week. Yeah, that would be quite funny.
Yeah. That would probably mark the top, but it doesn't matter. We do it anyways.
All right, let's add Hubert back to the stage.
Supported, so I had to install Firefox very quickly. So let's hope it will work.
You know, we can't really see you actually, or hear
Yeah,
you properly.
as a last resource, either Mashal or me can share, and you can kind of guide us through how to use L2beat. Could be also fun. I don't know if you heard that.
No. That's okay. I'm sure people love us. Please stay for us, even if you don't stay for the workshop.
Yeah. We'll do the Ethereum dance at some point, so you don't want to miss it. We're
Yeah.
not saying when, but we'll do it.
Yes. That's exactly why. That is exactly why you should stay. Because if you're going to learn about L2s, you should also want to save Ethereum, I would hope. I think they go hand in hand.
L2beat should make their own save
Save
L2's
L2 dance.
dance.
Yeah,
It's been brutal for L2 coins.
it is brutal. I would not want to be an L2 founder. It is rough
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Finally, now you should see it, right?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Perfect.
Nice. Okay, so quick browser reinstallation, and we are good to go.
Nice.
Perfect.
Okay, so right, getting like let's maybe like start like we would explain it like somebody's five. I think that's the best approach to take. So, but please like ask questions along the way, okay? Because I will be probably carried away to like specific rabbit holes. So it would be nice to have you here to stop me. Yeah, so like long story short, as I said already, like years ago when the Ethereum rollup centric roadmap was announced, there were like a lot of teams taking care of L2s all at once. So there was like Arbitrum by Off-Chain Labs, Optimism by OP Labs, ZK Sync by Matter Labs, and Starknet, for example, by Starkware, and so on, so on. So like there were like a lot of teams trying to tackle the same problem in a bit different way, and the problem was that Ethereum L1 is not scalable in its current form. So the problem with Ethereum right now, if we will go to, for example, activity section, and we'll go to just TPS, like Ethereum can process around, let's say, around like 16, 17 transactions a second. Like it's a top. So like compared to, I don't know, Visa, MasterCards that can process like thousands and thousands of transactions every single second, it's not enough, let's say, to onboard the whole world. Like that is why our focus right now, right? So to fix it, the idea was very similar. So the idea was that Ethereum would change from B2C to B2B, kinda. So like from B2C, where you would do everything on Ethereum, you would go to B2B, where there is actually other chain when you execute your transactions. But at the end of the day, those chains pay Ethereum to settle the transactions on the L1. So even though like those other chains that you are using for execution are like a lot cheaper, a lot faster, but due to that less secure, and like the whole infrastructure is not as good, and it can go easily down because, for example, there is only one centralized sequencer, right, that process all transactions, compared to Ethereum millions of validators, right? You can still like do it in a very cheap way, and the transactions eventually travel to L1 and are saved there. And the fact that Ethereum is always up since the merge, right? So there is like 100%. You can be 100% sure that you will be always able to access those transactions and prove that you actually, like, for example, send $100 on Arbitrum to somebody, right? So in case when Arbitrum would go down, if the L2 would be set up in a correct way, like, like all of those big heads from Ethereum Foundation planned years ago, you can actually withdraw this money, right? Even if the chain is down. So for example, Arbitrum, to your address on Ethereum, interacting only with Ethereum. So like you don't need this, you need Arbitrum to work. It can go down, like there is like nothing you can do there, but you can still withdraw the money using the Ethereum itself. So that's from the bridge. So that's what one of the like main goals. And as I said, there were a lot of teams tackling that, but all of them kind of went into different directions, right? So some of them chose to build optimistic rollups, some of them chose to build ZK rollups, validiums, optimiums, and now we are getting into the first rabbit hole. So I will just maybe tell you that no, like L2s are not created equal. All of them are different, and to make sure that users understand like some like basic works, how they work, we splitted them across different categories, right? So let's start maybe from like the worst to best. That will be easier. So the worst, quote unquote, are sidechains. So those are the ones that don't really have anything specific to do with L1, even though they claim they do. So that's like the best comparison, I guess, is Polygon POS. So one of the earliest chains to spin off from Ethereum. So Polygon is just a copy of Ethereum, right, with its own token, and it's a sidechain that at the end of the day, like this is like very simple way to say it, but at the end of the day, it posts the data of its transactions on Ethereum. But so you know that they technically happened, right? But there are like no proofs there to actually like prove that what they post is correct, and that they are not like trying to make any fraud. So for example, not changing like their addresses like from 100 millions to 200 millions, right? So in a like theoretical situation, when Polygon would go down, you have this copy on Ethereum, but let's say Polygon Foundation or whoever, right? That the last state that they send to Ethereum says that you as a user don't have anything there, and they have $10 million, right? And that way they can later claim, right, that they are like super rich and you have nothing. So there's like no way for Ethereum to actually check if what they are saying is true. And those are sidechains, right? Also, recently we did the recategorization. So if you don't have proofs and you don't have DA bridge, if you use alt DA like Eigen DA and Celestia, I will get to it in a minute. You are also in this category. So there are actually a lot of L2s that were like rollups not so long ago, like Warchain and so on, so on. But we hope that they will eventually go back to the other sections. So right now, I think there is like 109 or 104 L2s that don't meet the actual L2 requirements, but we are working close with those teams to ensure that they go back to the main sections sooner or later. Then we have validiums and optimiums. So they post the state to Ethereum. However, the data that is used to create this state is posted somewhere else. So usually it's either LDA. So let's say there's like they post it to Avail or Celestia, or there is like DAC, so Data Availability Committee, and this is like, let's say, like a group of computers, group of people, right, that decide what is true for this data, right? So if you have like 5 out of 6 DAC, there is like 6 computers, and if 5 of them will agree on a of the like the how this data looks like, right? This is basically a truth. So not that good, to be honest. So like, even though they are like better than sidechains, let's say, they are not as good as rollups, where like the probably the best solution right now. So they are like kind of in this middle state. So they are nice to use probably because thanks to AltDA they will be a lot cheaper, but they are not as secure. So like for me, validiums and optimiums in the future would be used probably for things like social social interactions on chain, right? So some kind of, I don't know, like lens is a perfect example probably, right? So some kind of posts or whatever that are not that worth, let's say, or like gaming like Sophon or Arbitrum Nova. And then we go to rollups, and rollups are the most secure secure L2s, because not only they post these commitments of their state to Ethereum, so and the data of those you used to recreate this state to Ethereum at the same time, but also they have like these proof systems that prove in like optimistic rollups in 7 days, or like ZK rollups like almost immediately, if those states and this data that they are posting are actually correct. So if nobody is tampering with the with what is happening there, with, as I said, for example, with your balances or whatever. So in case with this chain will go down, you can actually be 100% sure that it's all true and nobody tries to steal your money that way. Yeah, so those are like those three categories that we came up. If there are like any questions right now to that you might have, or everything is pretty much understood till now.
Yeah. Does the value secured have a correlation to the risk side or the security side? In general, I would assume yes, but for anyone who, I mean, there's obviously
Yes.
different factors that do come into play, but would love for you to share more on that.
You mean like choosing like specific solution for like the amounts of assets you would have on the chain?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say that if you are like a, like for example Robinhood, right, or like any other big company that is focusing on the aspect of on the financial aspect of blockchain, like choosing something else than rollup, like if you want to have like this Ethereum security, right, of those millions of validators, like there is like you should always choose the rollup, right? There is like no space where you actually would like to choose like a sidechain or whatever, in my opinion, other than probably some BD, right? So, or like getting some kind of a grant of tokens or whatever. But in my private opinion, there is like no, like this wouldn't make sense, right? Because like let's say like you have this validium, right, that is like using a veil but without, or like let's say like even a duck, right, like some like random duck out there, and you store the, like right now they have like 100 million stop, right? But let's say there is like 3 billions here, right? And in case something happened, all your users, like let's say, can't withdraw this money back to Ethereum, right? And 3 billions is like actually pretty substantial amount of money in my opinion. So like imagine you are like some like a company that is like the best probably example is the Robinhood, right? With the Arbitrum announcement recently, if they would choose to do like some kind of a sidechain or whatever, like any kind of um any technical problems that they would encounter would mean that they will lose the credibility and trust of the users, right? So the only way for them to actually tackle the blockchain in their setup is to actually go with rollups and ensure that there is like no possibility for anybody to lose the money or like anybody to like lose the history of the transactions that happened. Because from what I know, they want to focus on stocks, for example, right? And like stock trading is very high frequency, and like losing even like couple of minutes, right, would mean like the possible investors would lose like millions. So yeah, like if you are like building something that will focus on billions of dollars, build rollups. If you are focusing on gaming or social, probably choose validiums and optimiums because it will be cheaper and you will have like a lot more transactions there. And if you are a sidechain user, probably contact the team to fix some of those. That's probably the best you can do, in my opinion. And if you will actually see, because our value secured, so this is like how many assets are stored in the bridges of those L2s. Rollups are leading by far, and like also another thing to mention here is that we are calculating it in a bit different way than DeFi Llama, for example, like other Octant participant, from what I remember. Because if you will go to DeFi Llama, right, for example, and you will go to chains. So let's say base. Let me check, like not using DeFi Llama that often. Bridge TVL, I think. Yeah, like DeFi Llama TVL will always be different than our TVL, and that's because what we are counting is how many assets are actually breached to those L2s. So you can check that like people breached around 40 billion of dollars to rollups, 10 billions to other side chains or whatever, and 150 millions to validiums and optimiums. But what DeFi Llama checks, DeFi Llama tracks how many of those assets are then used in DeFi protocols like Aave or like, I don't know, Sky or whatever. So our number will probably be bigger, but because let's say on Arbitrum they might be like 2 billions of idle assets that nobody used for anything yet. But in our opinion, it's better because if the chain goes down, right, like if Arbitrum would go down, like the amount of assets at risk would be 70.5 and not 15.5, let's say, if those 2 billions would be idle. So our focus is more like on the, let's say, infrastructure level than DeFi level. Yeah, but like I get carried away a bit. Sorry about that. So like, yeah, answering your question, rollups are the most secure ones, and if you are a serious player, you should probably choose them. I don't see any incentive like for using RDA if you are not planning to have millions and millions of transactions every single day. Yeah, and maybe like let's also tackle activity very quickly. So because that's also something that I think a lot of people are getting wrong. So what we are comparing here is how many, like this is like the most important aspect of L2s, right? So like the goal for L2s is to actually make Ethereum quote unquote process more transaction than it's capable of, right? So if you will check here, right now Ethereum is doing like this is like the data for the previous day. The Ethereum did 16.3 transactions per second, while thanks to rollups it did 200 more, right? So the scaling factor is 13 times. So that's like L2s allow Ethereum to process 13 times more transactions per second than they would normally than it would normally be able to. So that's the main focus for the L2s, and you can just go here and check how many of those are contributed for specific L2s. So right now Base is leading. As we probably all know, they recently announced this rebranding and they have a new wallet, and they are using it to coin things, right? So there's like a huge number of users there right now. Then we have Arbitrum, right? The second one. Third is Unichain. Fourth is OP Mainnet, Starknet, Inc., Abstract, Katana, Paradox, and Linea. So those are like top 10 that have over one transaction per second. And what is actually like the most important thing here is that right now we have all of those new EIPs that allow you to like bundle the transactions, because I don't know if you remember the old times, but people were always complaining about the fact that on EVM you need to sign two transactions to, for example, deposit some money, right? So let's say there is like a new pool on Sky or whatever, or like any other DeFi protocol, and if you want to add your USDC there, first you need to click and allow for USDC to be deposited, right? You need to like adjust the threshold, and then you actually send this money. So there are like two transactions to sign, and it's super unintuitive for like everybody outside of our industry. So what people like started to come up with were EIPs, so like Ethereum upgrades that would allow you to, for example, bundle those transactions like together as one. So for example, this was called account abstraction, and like I think like the earliest L2 to do it was Starknet with their own Starknet VM. So the idea was that there, when you only sign one message, one transaction, I mean, and it allows you to set the threshold for this specific asset and deposit it at the same time. So so yeah, that's like super cool thing that you can get like transactions inside transactions, but actually the question how are you tracking it, right? So what we did, we called like this user operations per second, and long story short, we are tracking the transactions inside the transactions for all of those chains. So like this is very very hard to track actually, because you need to like every single wallet, every single chain is kind of doing it in a different way. So we just hop in and we do all of this manual data collection, and then we provide the data to you, right? So I think like the best possible chain to showcase it, for example, is WordChain by WordCoin. So if you don't know how WordChain is working, they have like this Word app, their dedicated mobile wallet, and it's basically like a safe multisig. So and they are using like this account abstraction. So without that one, they would have around 17 transactions per second, right? And every other analytic website would probably show you this number. But thanks to us digging like deeper, we can actually prove that WordChain is actually doing close to 30 transactions per second, right? So like I mean user operations per second. So that's like almost 2 times bigger. So and nobody else would probably spend so much of their time to actually provide this data. So like no DeFi Llama or like any other kind of similar analytics website. So that's why I think that's like one of the best proofs why you actually need a dedicated team and a dedicated website for the L2s in specific, because there's like so many interesting things happening there. To get this data, you actually need to spend some time there, yeah, to get them. Yeah, so we went through activity, we went through all those different versions of L2s. So I guess right now we can either go to
I have a
the value
question.
secured section. Oh, yeah.
Can the user operations per second be botted as well? Like, if there's bots on different chains, like how would a user, or I guess like from like an assessment perspective, what would be a way to even, like, does that even matter? Does it not matter? Yeah, I was just wondering.
You can't stop like the bot thing with it, unfortunately. Like the only way to fix the botting problem would be to implement some kind of ZK identity across all of those chains. So I think right now you have like word ID by word chain, or Celo is building the self protocol, ZK sync is building Quark ID, but before we can actually
Yeah.
like use it in a correct way, like it's kind of impossible. But if that's important, I think it's like super important actually, because like all of those setups, right? Like with every single like new upgrade or whatever, with AIP 7702 and so on, like they will become more and more complicated, right? You will have the interop between them, and it will be actually probably harder and harder to prove how many of the transactions happened on which chain, for example, right? So like it will be like becoming more complicated with every single day. So the fact that we already started this kind of research, it would be like pretty beneficial to everybody at some point in time. But again, like L2s are like still very, very immature. So when this will happen, no clue. But I guess like in like close 3 years probably from now, maybe even less, like 1 or 2. We'll see.
That's fascinating. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and then as I was supposed to say, we would either go to the value secured, so check the different tokens on different chains, or we can go through the creme de la creme already, so the risk analysis and stages. So your call, guys. You can choose.
Let's start with stages. I know you've been speaking a lot about it, talking about stage twos and really like the race to stage twos and who's going to get there. So yes, tell us more about what that means and why it's important.
Okay, so let's go maybe to, for example, ZK Sync and go to the stage thing, and I will just open it here so you see everything. So the idea for stages, it all started with Vitalik's post a long time ago on one of the Ethereum forums. And what he proposed was a framework to evaluate the maturity of rollups, to see if they are like still using the training wheels, or they are actually robust, decentralized, immutable systems, right? So we took that initial idea, we added our 2 cents, then we added even more, and eventually we came up with the stages framework. So there are like 3 stages that they are only for rollups. So only rollups can have stages, because if you are a validium and optimium, you already post the data somewhere else, so you will never be as secure as a rollup. So there are like 3 different stages for only for those. And what we check here is like many different things. So first foremost, there is a stage 0, right? So if you are a stage 0, if you are meeting all of those requirements, that means you are actually a rollup. So all of those 104 projects in other section that we were looking some time ago, they were rollups once, but then we decided they have to actually meet those to even be considered as such. So you need to have a complete and functional proof system. So as I mentioned, you need to like have some way to prove that those transactions are actually correct, and you are not just posting like random numbers. You need to call itself a rollup, right? So you actually need to be kind of like Ethereum aligned in that sense. your state roots need to be posted to Ethereum L1, right? So you can use like any type of LDA. Inputs for the state transition functions are posted to Ethereum L1. So again, more technical jargon, but let's say it's also like the data needs to be on the Ethereum, right? And there needs to be a node that the source available node to recreate the state from Ethereum L1. So basically, let's say if the chain would go down, there is actually like some kind of a code that would allow you to take things into your own hands and do it by yourself instead of just waiting for a team to fix the chain. So if you meet all of those 5, you are actually considered a rollup, but a stage 0 rollup. So the problem with rollups are that they are, as I said, very complicated. Like all L2s are very complicated setups, and even like a small bug in a code. So I think like Kinto is the best example. Like recently they had some little bug in a code that allowed somebody to steal all the money from the breach and basically destroy their token across all the exchanges and so on, because they could just print infinite amounts of them. So yeah, so to prevent stuff like that, those rollups usually create security councils. So security councils are a group of people. So in case of ZK Sync, if you will go a bit down, probably it should be somewhere here, but I will find it in the security. Yeah, security council participants, right? So you gather like all of those let's say people that you would trust, right? This is like a multisig. So in case of anything bad happening on the chain, they can, if there is the 9 out of 12 of those people we actually agree on, right? They can use this multisig to push any kind of upgrade immediately to the chain itself. So let's say there is like some kind of like the contracts were compromised or whatever, and you can very quickly you can just contact your security council and push the upgrade in matter of seconds, instead of, for example, waiting like for usual upgrades. It takes like 30 days or whatever to actually process them through governance or whatever. You can actually do it immediately. So this is probably like the thing that all the alt L1s are using to attack L2s. Like, for example, saying that, okay, this is not a blockchain, this is actually a multisig, right? You are sending your assets to a multisig. But what we are checking with those stages framework that I will go back to right now, what we are checking is if those security councils are those multisigs, right, actually used for the things that they were supposed to use, right? So the question is, can they like upgrade anything like all the time they want to, right? So let's say nine out of those 12 people will agree to steal all the money from the breach, and they will do it. So like, for example, in Arbitrum, there's like 15 or 17 billion of dollars, so they can just take it. Or they actually used like through some code, right, and some complicated setup to only upgrade in case of bugs or whatever. Or do you actually have a time to withdraw if this kind of an upgrade would happen? So maybe let's say you don't agree with this upgrade and it would make you lose money or whatever, and you want to leave the rollup. So we are checking all of those things, and if they are like set up in a correct way, again, the rollup is stage 1. So most of the rollups that are stage 1 right now are either Arbitrum 1 or OP stacks, so like Base, Optimism, Unichain, and Ink, and Scroll and Starknet. And there's also Kinto, but Kinto is like an upchain, right? So they are used for very specific things. So those are like general purpose rollups, right? Built for everything. So that's why we probably will focus on them today a bit more. And if you are meeting like some additional requirements, like upgrades unrelated to on-chain provable bugs provide less than 30 days to exit, right? If they would actually provide more than 30 days, they would be almost like a perfect setup for a rollup. So if they would achieve this kind of a stage 2, that would be like a huge win. like it's a zk sync page, right? So that would be a huge thing, huge win for zk sync to actually prove that they were able to achieve it like as a first rollup out of all of them. But the problem is that in doing so, right, they would there would be this risk that something really bad could happen, and they wouldn't be able to react in time. So like most of those systems don't want to do it yet. And you can actually check, even though we have like 6 or 7 stage 1 rollups, we don't have any stage 2 rollups except for upchains. So zkman is like very old version of Aztec, but again, it's an upchain, it's not a general purpose rollup. And honeypot by Cartesi, so it's also a stage 2 rollup, but it's only used for bug bounty, right? So you can just, there's like some money on it, and you can try to steal it to check if the system is secure or not. So that's also like kind of like an upchain. So both of those doesn't really count. So even though we have 2 of them here, yeah, they only those actually like, I don't want to say a word matter, but only those are actually like, if those would upgrade to stage 2, the people would actually be happy about it, right? So yeah, but like our main goal is to work with those teams and kind of push them towards this stage 2 sooner or later, either by sometimes throwing them to the other sections, sometimes by calling them on Twitter, sometimes calling them out on conferences, and so on. So like outside of like gathering all this information, building these websites, we are also kind of applying a bit of a social pressure on them to actually
And
make
that-
sure that they will achieve this stage 2 eventually.
And as we all know, there's nothing that works better than crypto Twitter pressure on projects.
Exactly. So sometimes you just need to, like, for example, right now, in 8 days, we changed this stage 1 requirement for Security Council, where it's on like now it's like the threshold is a bit higher. It's 75%. Then it was like, I don't know, I think 50. So if they will not adjust to it, they will be downgraded back to stage 0, right? And as soon as we posted it, every single one of those teams said that, okay, we already working on a solution. It will be deployed on the day of the downgrade, right? So all of them actually will, like Optimism, for example, and Scroll and so on, will tackle this from the day 1. So that way, like with a little bit of pressure, you're actually making sure that the assets of all of those people are a bit more secure. So that's why I love this job mostly.
No, that's incredible, and I hope we see more, just more L2s level up in terms of their stages and meet the new requirements. I think that's been cool to see. It's really just how responsive certain projects have been over others, and just seeing who's gonna be left behind in this.
Yeah, I think like recently they were not focusing on it as much because there was like this kind of, Ethereum PR drama, right? When it was like below 2K or something. And with that, like, and with all the tokens down, like L2 tokens, I mean, I think they had like some internal struggles to actually, keep up with the market and everything, and maintain kind of like, like to be able to continue like to run the companies basically. But now when it's all a bit better, and like Arbitrum, for example, secured Robinhood, and there are like couple more very big players coming into the picture, and like very big institutions, I think they will focus on it a bit more. And also that's our job again. So if there is like any kind of institution that want to build on Ethereum, we try to position ourselves as these like security consultants, and actually, use our data to show to them that, okay, maybe you should use this chain over this one, right? Oh, you want to deploy your own, so here is like the overview of the whole stack. So you can check, for example, how OP stack behaves versus the Arbitrum Orbit stack, and so on, right? So yeah, like there is like a lot of things that we want to do all at once, and all of them are focused on making the L2 more transparent and more widely used. Because I think if there would be like even one giant L2 bank run, right? Like for like a giant institution or whatever, like the loss of trust in these kind of setups would be abysmal, and it would really hurt the whole industry, right? And it would really hurt the Ethereum ecosystem. So like I know like not a lot of people are interested in the security standpoint. They just want to make money on blockchain, but we are trying to look kind of we want to have like this forward thinking way, right? And yeah, and make sure that we are here for decades and not for a couple years. Okay, so we went through the stages. So I guess the only two important things to go through is risk rosette and value secured. I don't know how long is a stream already, so you can let me know if it will be taking too long. But yeah, like
we can probably go over like so we are sort of at time, but I think we can quickly cover. Do you think you can cover it in 10 minutes, like both of those?
Okay. So
And
going
if
very.
yeah, and if
Okay.
not, then I think Nico, we could probably extend it, right? We're at 168 people who viewed this live stream and have joined us, so we were at a pretty good number right now. But yeah, go for it.
Okay. So going to zk sync again, or maybe like I will go to Arbitrum now to not only focus on zk sync for this whole live. So the other thing that we are checking is risk analysis, right? So there are like a lot of different factors that would make you lose money on the L2 if not set up correctly. So what we did, we kind of visualized it as a L2 pizza, let's say. That's how it's known on Twitter mostly. And you can just imagine this, like those are like the 5 slices, 5 possibilities where you would not be able to get your money back from L2 after sending it there from, let's say, Ethereum or like whatever. So let's maybe go like one after another. So the most important one is sequencer failure. At Arbitrum it's self-sequence. So what does it mean? As I mentioned on L2s, you have like this single sequencer setup, right? So you maintain only one computer that is posting all of those transactions to Ethereum. So you don't need to pay to create like millions of validators across the whole world as Ethereum already did. You can just have one and inherit this security. But if it will go down, right, it's kind of a problem. You need to somehow send those transactions to Ethereum, right? So what we are checking here is what is this chain actually allow you to do it by yourself, for example, right? So so like for Arbitrum, for example, if the sequencer will go down, user can force transactions to be included in project's chain by sending them to L1. There can be up to 1 day delay on this operation. So even though it's a little delay here, you can still be sure that you actually can send these transactions and actually withdraw from this system. Then we are checking the state validation. So basically checking if the things that they are posting on L2, so all this data that you would need to gather together to withdraw is actually true or not. So for in case of Arbitrum, it's their fraud-proof system. So they post this data on Ethereum, and then you have 7 days to challenge it. So if you think that somebody from Off-Chain Labs, is trying to screw you, you can just say, "Hey, I'm challenging you guys." You would put a bit of a stake, some assets on stake to actually, so to avoid the situation when everybody would challenge every single day. And if you are right, the transaction is reverted. But if you are wrong, you will lose this money. So and this like basically like this whole complicated setup to make sure it works in a permissionless way. Then we have data availability. So the data needed to construction of those proofs needs to be saved somewhere. So as I mentioned, it's either data availability committee, so like your own setup of computers. You can have AltDA, so like Avail or Celestia, or you can post it to Ethereum L1. So Arbitrum is of course using blobs, right? So it's posted on Ethereum itself. So as we know, Ethereum will never go down, and that way this data will be always available for everybody, right? So that's why it's green here. Then we have exit window. So we check how much time do I actually have to exit from an L2 if there is like this upgrade that I mentioned that is not, like, let's say you don't agree with. So for Arbitrum, it's 10 days, but the Security Council can upgrade with no delay immediately. So that's again like something that would need to be fixed eventually with going to stage 2. And then we have a proposer failure. So that's very similar to sequencer failure. Let's say it's a bit more technical, but somebody needs to kind of send those transactions to like send those proposed new routes to the L1 bridge every now and then. It's also needed later for withdrawal. So you also need to make sure that if something happens to the proposer, like usually sequencer and proposer are the same thing, but not always, you need to be able to self-propose those routes by yourself. So yeah, this is all 5 sections. So Arbitrum is very green. So maybe let's go to something that is a bit less and check there. So maybe, I don't know, Katana. This is like very early, let's say like fresh project, but
I love their user experience. Like Katana has just been so cool, and very fun branding too.
Yeah, like Polygon is cooking. Polygon is cooking, but even though they have a great user experience, if there would be a sequencer failure, see, you don't have any mechanism to allow you to include your own transactions, to force your own transactions. So right now, if Katana would go down and you have a lot of money in DeFi there, you would be stuck and you would need to wait for them to actually bring the chain up again. So, even though the user experience is great, don't put too much money there, maybe. And then we have the exit window. So again, there is non-exit window, so any upgrades are immediate. They use blobs, right? And they have ZK proofs, so those two are green. But like, for example, there's also nothing to do in case of proposer failure, so you wouldn't be able to withdraw the money. So only the whitelisted proposers can publish state routes on L1. So in the event of failure, the withdrawals are frozen. So not perfect, but like actually like a lot better than most of the chains here. So still like in the middle from like security standpoint.
We got another reply from Jerry, who's a pretty strong community member, saying who is interested in the security fund managers that are getting crypto curious. The number one question is, how can we be sure our funds are safe?
Yeah, exactly, and that's our goal, to kind of just prepare like some cool one-page presentation about all of those, right, and send it to somebody before the board meeting, and they will actually look, okay, this is stage 0, this is super red, so maybe let's use this one that is more like green and yellow, right? And you don't need to be technical, you just need to be able to compare the colors. So that's our goal, to make it as easy as possible. Like, even though it's super complicated, as I said, you just look at those 5. You just look at the pizza and you know what is going on.
I love the pizza visualization. I just have to say, like, it just makes it so much easier, and it's so intuitive. Like, you look at it and you're like, huh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, we have like one graphic designer and UX UI designer, and he's so great. So he came up with most of it. So yeah, like, shout out to Jan right now. Maybe I will send it to him later.
Shout out to Jan. Thank you for this pizza visualization.
Yeah.
Great.
And now actually, like, a lot of like every single analytics website that is focusing on risks at blockchain is actually using the same kind of visualization. So that's super funny to me. So if you have like, if proofs or like Walletbeat and all of those websites that focus on different security of different like protocols or whatever, they actually use the pizza thing. So that's actually very funny. So we started the trend, let's say.
Yeah. Always the first to do that. And I think if the other part that's really good is if more, I guess this is also how standards stick, right? when you have more platforms adopting the same kind of visualization, it just reinforces the fact that it is easier to understand and people are able to grasp it to some level.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is to make it like to present complicated data in a most user-friendly way possible. And I think we achieved it for both, for stages and for risks. Did we achieve it for everything else though? Like for more complicated topics like liveness, DA, and so on. Not so sure, but like we are working on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and say, yo, this is the most easy platform ever. But I think the pizza part is really intuitive and it's easier. And I'm sure, I mean, it's sort of like what you said, right? Like, especially with limited resources. And this is why allocations matter as well, because when teams have more budgets to work with, they are able to spend a lot more on the nice to haves versus the absolute crucials.
Yeah, actually, so maybe I will just go quickly through values. Very important, and then you can actually tell me what would you guys want to change on the website actually. So like a very quick 1-minute feedback session. So
Sure.
like yeah, so like just going back to the website itself. So as I said, we have this value secured. So as I said, we are checking the assets in bridges compared to DeFi Llama, which checks them from like deposits to like specific DeFi protocols. So to actually account for our frameworks, we had to come up with another framework, and this one is for assets. So we split them across 3 different categories. So we have canonically bridged assets, natively minted assets, and externally bridged assets. So yeah, they are here. They are represented by different colors. And why it's like important is how those assets are actually created, right? So canonical ones are bridged via the canonical bridged of those L2s. So like, for example, if you will go to Arbitrum, do TVS breakdown. So for Arbitrum, it's, for example, ETH, of course, right? For Bitcoin, some kind of restaked ETH or whatever, and like a lot of different tokens, right? So those ones are bridged from Ethereum L1 via the canonical bridge. So in case of any bad possibility, right? So like if the chain would go down, you can use everything that we talked about from this summary section about risk rosette and stages and actually withdraw those type of assets, right? So they are like the most secure, let's say, to use, and this is like probably the best thing you can do. Yeah, and that's how you probably should do it actually, but we'll get to that in a second. Then you have natively minted value. So those are the tokens that are minted on the chain itself. So they originate from this specific L2. So like, for example, that's like a native USDC by Circle or like Arbitrum native token. But the problem with those assets is even like they are minted on the L2, right? So it like if they would something happening with the with this chain, you might have like problems to withdraw it to L1 actually. So not a perfect not a perfect setup. Like if you trust Arbitrum that they will be able to maintain the chain in a perfect state forever, then you like be my guest, you can use it. But if you have even like a shadow of the doubt that something might happen, those are like less secure than canonically breached ones. That this is like different trust assumptions. And then we have externally breached value. So that's like an other section for tokens. So here the trust assumption is that you need to trust whoever is maintaining the bridge. So for example, this USDT, right? It's a layer 0 OFT. So in case of anything happening with the chain, you basically need to go to layer 0 and ask them to help you, because you can't permissionlessly withdraw or whatever. It's not on this, like it's not native for this chain. So you just need to go to Axelar, layer 0 connects to Wormhole and all of those interop protocols, CCIP by Circle, right? And ask them to hyperlane, for example, and ask them to help you out with it. So those are like kind of like all over the place, right? There are some like more secure setups here, but most of them are not. Most of the cases, this is like a layer 0 multisig, 2 out of 2 or whatever. So we actually need to kind of believe that if you will come to layer 0, they will tell you, oh, okay, here, we'll figure it out for you, don't worry, buddy. But will it happen actually? Like with billions and billions of dollars? You never know. Yeah, so those are like those three different types of assets. So I think that's also very, very important. Probably like the best case to showcase it is USDC, but I am not sure on which chains it's still support. Oh yeah, okay. So we like on Arbitrum we have canonically bridged USDC, we have natively minted USDC, and we have externally bridged USDC. So this is like super fine, right? So you have you have three different versions of USDC on the same chain, and all of them will behave differently in case of something going down, right? I mean, like USDC was already pretty permissioned, and probably you would need to go to Circle anyway. But yeah, like let's say if that would be like any other stablecoin or any other token, even though on your wallet or or on the other front end, it would look the same for you. If the chain would go down, your friend would have like the canonical version, you would have the native one, and like the situation would be different for both of you. So that's actually why we came up with this framework to actually also showcase this kind of a risk to users. Yep, and yeah, that's TVS breakdown for you. So also pretty, and you can just go here and you can see which chains focuses on what, right? So for example, a cool example is Starknet, because in Starknet they are doing it in a very, very good way. So like every single token on Starknet is canonically breached. So like except like some like external wrap staked ETH or whatever. But like most of it, even the Starknet token actually originates from L1. So the contract is on Ethereum, and they bridge it back to the L2, back to Starknet. Like Kubo, right? Like all of Nostra, all of those ZK Land, all of those native Starknet tokens are actually from native to Ethereum, actually, like they are canonically breached. So that's also very cool. Like they are like very focused on the security aspect in that regard. Yeah, but other teams, that depends. Like Katana, for example, is mostly externally breached value, right? So they depend on these third-party providers. Ink as well. Paradex is almost fully Kinto, and so on, so on. So like in a perfect world, what you would like to use is like fully green pizza chain. That is stage 2. That's actually mostly compound out of canonically breached assets. But the truth is, there will never be probably such a chain, because all of it is, as I mentioned, BD, marketing, deals, and so on, right? So will we have like this kind of a perfect chain anytime soon? Not sure. I hope we'll have it in the span of a couple of years.
We can hope. We can
Yes.
hope.
Yeah. I hope for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, oh,
So
yeah.
just wanted to say that it's only like the very top of what we are doing, because then you have like the bridges section. We are checking like DAs, so we analyze all the alt DAs compared to Ethereum blobs in the same way. Then we will have soon we'll have ZK catalog, so we'll be checking all the trusted setup for ZK projects out there, and so on, so on. So we are doing a lot of things, but it's just impossible to cover during an hour. So I
Yeah.
also don't want
Here
to get you guys sleeping. So
No, thank you so much. This is really, really great. And I think it's the perfect amount for the first intro. I think we should absolutely do a second version of this, where we cover everything else that you didn't cover, go a little bit deeper, and we can have everybody that's watched. Also, thank you everyone for staying on. I see 196 of you, which is really cool. Thank you for engaging. We're reading your tweets and replies. That was really great, and it always
I
is
hope
great.
I was not boring. And I also I burned my tongue yesterday, So I'm
Oh,
also
no.
like not very comfortable with speaking, but I hope it was okay.
You were great. You were great. And again, like we've only had the numbers go up in terms of people joining us. So I think that's the best indicator in terms of how how
So
it's
yeah,
been.
if somebody joined like during the live, you can just watch the recording, I guess, later. And yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
Or
be up
just
on
actually just
yeah.
message me on Telegram or on Twitter. So my handle is hubkotl, so HUBKOTL, and it's the same on both of those platforms. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I love to answer such questions. So
Amazing. And we're gonna tag him on Twitter. But again, this recording is gonna be up on our YouTube channel as well as it's gonna be on our Twitter. We're gonna share it with viewers as well and with the L2beat folks so that they can upload it as well. And we'll have some short clips coming out too with some of the interesting bits from this live. But yes, thank you so much, Hubert. This is really great. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Nico, for being a great co-host. This is a really great chat. I think we've trimaxied a few people as I was looking at Twitter and I saw some replies. So yeah, we should chat more about just specialty caffeine drinks.
yeah,
With that,
and we need to make those TikToks, right? Eventually. So
oh yes, we do. We still have
I
to.
think
You'll have to.
yeah, to make sure that somebody is, like focused on these hard security aspects, you just need to give them like some Subway surfers beneath it, and I think
Yes.
their attention will be a bit longer.
We got to do a Subway Takes version, and probably do like a save L2 beats version of to save L2s, the way we were trying to save Ethereum. All right, cool. With that, again, thanks so much, guys. You can catch us again tomorrow because we have another stream where we are going to have you join as well as a couple of other folks. Nico, if you want to give a little bit of an intro to that, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Hubert, for the workshop. It was super good. Now I know how to navigate the dashboard even more. So pretty excited about that. And yeah, about tomorrow, we're gonna be looking at even more dashboards. We're gonna have some other Epoch 8 participants, and they're gonna tell us about their work, and everything's gonna go around dashboards
Oh yeah,
that
actually,
help
yeah,
us with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I forgot one thing. If you didn't vote for L2beat. I'm sorry, the most important factor.
exactly. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much
Yeah, thank you
to
guys, and
everybody.
thank you for like maintaining Octant. That's the most, like, you guys are doing the hard job here. We are just telling L2s what they are doing in the wrong way, right? For them to fix it, but you need to like do all of this social coordination. I think it's even bit harder. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And yes, a big reminder, please allocate. The deadline is coming up. You can go on to octant.app, look at what your local deadline is for allocation. The rankings change, and every single allocation decision makes a difference when it comes to the matching amount that's given out to every project. So please do look at that. And some fun Octant news. We're going to be coming out with more vaults content. We did announce that last week, and we're going to be going deeper into our why. We also have some really interesting vault strategies that we're going to be sharing in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of content that is switching up as we get a little bit closer to more releases coming up for V2. So please stay tuned for that. And yeah, happy allocation, I'd say.
Yeah. See you in a week with the results.
Yeah. All right. And see you tomorrow for tomorrow's live stream. Have a good one.
Bye.